Strap in as Booker DeWitt from BioShock Infinite if you've ever wondered what would happen if the Second Amendment had a gambling problem.
Missed again.
And prepare for the wildest church service in video games, because this time, everyone dies for my sins. The games I've covered for this series were flawed gems, but that's where today's title is going to be different. I loved BioShock Infinite. There were 3 moments where my jaw hit the floor, and returning to it now, those moments still hit. It's how we get there that's more difficult to swallow. In this video, we're going to review and fix BioShock Infinite's story without changing characters, locations, gameplay mechanics, or major story beats. So we're going to spoil all of BioShock Infinite, including the ending. And if you know Infinite, you know how entwined it is with the original BioShock, so we're spoiling that too. Starting now. The first BioShock is set in the underwater city of Rapture, the only place with more drug addict millionaires than San Francisco, where players unraveled the mystery of how society inside this impossible marvel came crashing down. In the most shocking twist in gaming since a woman married Kratos, you find out you are actually the brainwashed son of Rapture's founder, Andrew Ryan, and you're under the control of Ryan's business rival, Frank Fontaine, conditioned to do anything asked of you if the request includes the words, "Would you kindly?"
Now, would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
Games with a twist ending can struggle with their sequels. You could try to fool the audience again, but now we know not to trust you and we'll just be comparing your new ending to the first. You could not include a twist, as BioShock 2 chose, leaving your otherwise competent game feeling anticlimactic. Or you could go Infinite's route and throw in a twist so bonkers no one would ever think you'd attempt it. And Infinite was received well by critics, who made it the 3rd highest rated game in 2013 behind Grand Theft Auto 5 and The Last of Us. The Last of Us released just 3 months after BioShock Infinite, and players noticed some minor similarities between the two. One game is about a jaded older man who lost a daughter years ago and now has to escort a special young girl across an exaggerated version of America, where at first they don't see eye to eye, then become equals, then the older man starts to see the young girl as his daughter, ending at a shocking recontextualization of the character we've been playing as, who is voiced by Troy Baker, and the other game is The Last of Us. So let's dive into the story of Infinite plot holes and see if my love for this game is a constant or a variable. We open on a rowboat off the coast of Maine in 1912, where we control Booker DeWitt, a private detective whose pile of gambling losses landed him here.
I imagine he has a greater interest in getting there than I do.
I suppose he does, but there's no point in asking.
Why not?
Because he doesn't row.
He doesn't.
Booker has a simple mission: bring us the girl and wipe away the debt. Find a young woman and bring her back to New York. Once he's dropped off by his mysterious porters, he approaches a lighthouse and we see his reflection briefly in a scratched wash basin. Upstairs, he finds some motivational artwork and a chair at the top with a secret.
What the hell? Go!
Make yourself ready, Pilgrim. The bindings are there as a safeguard.
No, God damn it!
Attention. Count of 4.
No.
3, 2, 1.
No!
Attention.
Just stay calm.
5,000 feet. 10,000 feet. 15,000 feet. Hallelujah.
Booker lays eyes on the floating city of Columbia, and for a moment, it's beautiful. Right away, Infinite is both the same and different from BioShock. Both games open with a solitary man finding a lighthouse, but where BioShock gave us a vision of a libertarian utopia and then quickly stuns us with how it's gone so horribly wrong, Columbia's sinister nature is far more subtle.
Is it someone new?
Excuse me. Where am I?
Heaven, friend. Or as close as we'll see till Judgment Day.
Just keep such questions to myself, unless I want to get made.
We land in a flooded church, and the only way out is past the preacher.
Brother, the only way to Columbia is through rebirth in the sweet waters of baptism. Will you be cleansed, brother?
Who insists that you be baptized and let Jesus flow through you, particularly your lungs.
I don't know, brothers and sisters, but this one doesn't look clean to me.
Booker resists, but if he wants to proceed, he'll have to take the plunge for the first time. While he's unconscious, Booker dreams he's back in his office, while someone outside bangs on the door yelling for him to
bring us the girl and wipe away the debt!
When he opens it, he witnesses the airships of Columbia attacking a version of New York, one that exists long after 1912.
I don't know how you survived that plane crash, but I've never been one to question Providence. I'm Atlas, and I aim to keep you alive.
BioShock's first level was a masterclass in establishing mechanics quickly. In less than 30 minutes, we learned about Andrew Ryan's ideology.
I rejected those answers.
What a splicer is, the attack on the Kashmir, plasmids and how to use them in battle.
1-2 punch! Remember, the 1-2 punch!
Adam, Eve,
The circus of value!
little sisters, big daddies. With Atlas as your guide in this house of horrors, you were led through an introduction to everything the game was going to throw at you. And Infinite clears that bar. It's Secession Day in Columbia, the anniversary of the floating city leaving America behind to fulfill the prophecy of its leader, Zachary Hale Comstock. There's a parade, shops are on the honor system, the whole town is abuzz about a raffle. We find all our BioShock counterparts. Instead of Eve, we have Salts. Instead of Big Daddies, we have the Handyman. Instead of Plasmids, we have Vigors. But Plasmids had a role to play in the lore of Rapture, and here it feels like they're only in Infinite because of BioShock. Sure, the game tries to justify their existence in the DLC campaign Burial at Sea, and I have a lot to say about that.
Heads.
Or tails.
Come on, let me through. Heads.
Or tails.
These two appear, bantering like the pair who dropped you off in the rowboat. Booker flips, the coin lands heads. Again, if you're noticing this looks a lot like Disneyland, that is not an accident. Columbia was designed to feel like a theme park, and it does. But Rapture felt like a place where people lived, and Columbia feels like it's here to serve the player. We see a sign warning us to avoid the false shepherd, someone with AD branded on their right hand, and it must suck to be that guy. Oh no. No need to cover that up, it'll be fine. And we arrive at the raffle, hosted by Columbia's captain of industry, Jeremiah Fink. A crowd has gathered in anticipation, and we're all waiting for what's behind the curtain.
Sorry, no sale.
Silly? There's never a charge for the raffle. You've been sleeping under a rock?
77.
77. That's a lucky number. I'll be rooting for you.
Is that not the prettiest young white girl in all of Columbia?
That's not sure why you had to qualify it like that, but okay.
The winner is number 77!
Oh, what do you know?
They pull your number, and despite your attempt to keep a low profile, you're the winner. And your prize is the chance to stone an interracial couple surrounded by monkey caricatures while the crowd cheers.
Please, what are you doing? Come on! Are you gonna throw it? Or are you taking your coffee black these days?
And Infinite lets you choose. Throw the baseball at the couple, the announcer, or do nothing.
Why don't you give her a throw?
You son of a bitch.
Wait! It's him!
Now, where'd you get that brand, boy? Don't you know that makes you the backstabbing snake in the grass false shepherd?
But no matter who you aim at, they spot your hand.
Show them what we got planned, boys!
The cops are about to skyhook your face when Booker gets an idea, and Infinite shows you just how brutal it's willing to be. In your effort to keep a low profile, you kill 27 police officers, yes I counted, and acquire a skyhook, but the bridge to Monument Island is closed off. Now you have to find another route there across Columbia's rooftops. The trams may have stopped, but the skylines that weave all throughout Columbia are still here. So we stop walking through DisneyClan and board the ride. And Infinite nails the joy of traversing its environment. And using the skylines to zip around Columbia gives us that wonder of movement, and reminds us that I'm trusting my life to a guy named Fink. It's not long before what's left of the cops are onto us, and they mobilize to stop us until...
Stand down! Stand down!
Comstock intervenes. You may not know Columbia's prophet, but he knows plenty about you.
I know why you've come, false shepherd. I see every sin that blackens your soul.
He knows you took part in the massacre at Wounded Knee, you busted labor unions for the Pinkertons, you drink, you gamble, and he mentions someone named...
Anna.
He also knows your instructions.
What brought you to Columbia, Booker? Bring us the girl and wipe away the debt?
Comstock blows out the wall to stop you from reaching Monument Island, so you commandeer his airship. But he's one step ahead.
The Lord forgives everything. But I'm just a prophet. so I don't have to.
One of the first criticisms I'd heard about Infinite was how Comstock isn't as compelling a villain as Andrew Ryan. Ryan built Rapture as a place where religion, government, and ethics boards could not interfere with the free market, where the only measure of what you are doing is right is whether it makes you money. I can't think of any descriptors of Comstock other than he's religious and racist.
As a boy, I had a dog named Bill. Like all dogs, Bill was a loyal friend. If we had not fed him, Bill would have been loyal. If we had struck him, Bill would have been loyal. Only when the colored man can make that claim will he take his place in society.
In this video, I'm going to accuse BioShock Infinite of being callous in the way it handles racism. But it's my job to improve the story, which means I have to say, here's how I'd make Comstock a better racist, and I can see how you might hear that from a face that looks like mine and say you're doing exactly what you're accusing BioShock Infinite of. So in response to that, I say, here's how I'd make Comstock a better racist. Having your villain be racist isn't new. Look at Gannon and tell me he's never tweeted about critical race theory. It's an easy way to show your audience who to dislike. But Comstock's beliefs are never tested. It's like Chekhov's racism. Infinite wants credit for approaching a topic most games wouldn't dare, but never commits to making the trudge through all of Comstock's repulsive sermons about racism, God, or both worth our while. And before you accuse me of pushing a woke agenda that was never in the original BioShock, it absolutely was. Andrew Ryan just worshipped a different god. Andrew Ryan is interesting not because he bloviates about the free market, he's interesting because of what his choices reveal about his character. He wanted a free market until someone came along and played his own game better than he did. So Ryan compromised his principles to stay on top, revealing to us without ever saying so the purpose of Rapture wasn't creating a free market, it was to create a market that he would control. When that was threatened and he had to choose between his ideals and his power, he chose power. But Comstock is never faced with any choice about his ideals. He's prophesized that Columbia will be led by his heir, the Lamb, to become a new Noah's Ark that rains hellfire on the cities below. While we find out later, Comstock's prophecy isn't divine at all. His beliefs, this hate he preaches so poorly disguised as love, are never woven into his downfall. So we leave Infinite feeling like we never got to know Comstock.
Wonder why they got her locked up in this place.
Booker reaches Monument Island and finds the tower abandoned. A siphon is absorbing some energy from above, and there's years of research on a young girl as an infant to a child, and now a 19-year-old woman, as well as items she's interacted with that shift from one state to another. We ascend the elevator to a monitoring room and see Elizabeth for the first time. While critics have pointed out the parallels between Elizabeth and Disney princesses like Belle or Rapunzel, Elizabeth was developed to top what Ken Levine thought was the best NPC companion to date, Alex Vance from Half-Life 2. Elizabeth has never left her tower and has no idea she's been watched from every room her whole life. We get a glimpse of her hand and see the tip of her pinky finger is missing. And then, in a moment of inspiration, she rips open the fabric of reality and we see the real Eiffel Tower in Paris. This was the first moment where my jaw hit the floor, not just because I had no idea that was coming, but also the movie theater in Paris is playing Return of the Jedi, which released in 1983, meaning this Paris is over 70 years in the future. So half the job is done, and now you get to see what happens when I talk to women.
Hello.
Now to get her to New York.
Hey! Knock it off! Stop it! Will you stop it? Not here to hurt you.
Who are you?
My name is DeWitt. I'm a friend. I come to get you out of here.
Get away! Are you real?
I'm real enough.
Give it to me.
But it couldn't be that easy. Just as Big Daddy's guarded little sisters in Rapture, Elizabeth is guarded by the Songbird.
They were watching me? All this time? Why? Why did they put me in here? What am I? What am I?
You're the girl who's getting out of this tower!
Who tears the tower apart looking for Booker. They emerge on the roof, but the tower collapses. Booker and Elizabeth freefall, but they use the tram lines to tear across the skies over Columbia while Songbird hunts them. Songbird cleaves the tower in half while it circles the area, and it's not long before the rampaging bird severs the skyhook rails, sending Booker and Elizabeth falling into the bay. Booker has the dream again, but this time Elizabeth is there. The man outside and Elizabeth repeat Booker's mission.
Clean up the curb and wipe away the debt!
Anna. Anna.
No, it's me, Elizabeth. Are you all right?
Where am I?
Back in the land of the living.
He wakes on the beach. Elizabeth hovers over him, but she's distracted by a nearby band as this is her first time hearing live music.
Elizabeth!
Hello! Oh, this is wonderful! Well, come dance with me, Mr. DeWitt.
I don't dance. Come on, let's go.
Why? What can be better than this?
How about Paris?
Paris? I don't understand. How could we get there?
That's where that airship's going, but if you want to stay and dance, we can...
No, let's go! Come on, let's go!
And Booker lies to Elizabeth.
Mr. DeWitt, Comstock. I've read about him. They say he can see the future.
Give a man a little power. He falls in all kinds of love with himself.
I don't like his look.
Do you dislike the look of the prophet or his gaze?
Can we leave now?
In this chapter, we not only see Elizabeth interacting with the world, but we round out what life is like for the citizens of Columbia, both the fortunate and not.
I must take any task with more than this. Oh, hello, sir. Don't you pay me no never mind? Just some foolishness, you know. Just monkey shines.
Elizabeth is fascinated by the world outside, but confused by its needless cruelty.
Why is one bathroom for colors and the other for whites?
It just is.
Seems like an unnecessary complication.
Bird. Or the cage.
Or perhaps the bird.
Nothing beats the cage.
These two again.
The rowboat twins appear, offering Elizabeth one of two cameos. One with a bird, one with a cage.
Look at these, they're amazing. Which one do you like more, this one?
And many players like me struggled with what this could mean. She just escaped a giant cage. I wouldn't want to give her another, but we are being hunted by a bird. What if picking that one attracts Songbird?
The one on the left.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Turns out the choice has no effect. She wears the cameo you choose, but there's no impact on the story. Infinite's choices have been maligned for not having consequences, but BioShock didn't give you narrative freedom either. On your second playthrough, once you know you're being manipulated, you still had to obey Atlas's commands. Once he says the magic words, your new goal pops up.
Head on back to Fontaine Fisheries when you're ready, would you kindly?
And nothing can progress until you obey. But when people say there was meaningful choice in BioShock, they mean this one. In BioShock, little sisters carry Adam, which you need for upgrades to your health or access to more plasmids. You can free them of their mind control and get some Adam, or kill them and get twice as much.
Thank you.
Freeing them is the morally correct choice, but it makes the road ahead harder. Strategically, I could tell myself this isn't a person. It's a collection of polygons and animations. But BioShock asks you, could you do it? Unfortunately, the game pulls its punches by giving you a gift after every 3 little sisters you save, with a mountain of Adam and plasmids and tonics, negating any sacrifice you briefly made to confirm all players are upgrading at the same rate.
Hey, mister. We'd like to help you.
Do I know you?
Back at the lottery, without you, we wouldn't have gotten away.
Daisy always said somebody like you would come along.
Going back to Infinite's raffle, you have snuck into Columbia, you won the raffle, everyone here is cheering you on, and you cannot blow your cover. Morally, it makes sense to throw the ball at Fink. Strategically, it makes sense to lob a fastball at the couple. But Infinite asks you, could you do it? Your answer is irrelevant to the game, but it might say a lot about you.
Look.
Are you alright?
It was my home.
We should get out of here.
Let's go.
Booker and Elizabeth make a quick exit before someone notices neither one of them belong here.
Where did you learn to pick locks?
Trapped in a tower with nothing but books and spare time? You would be surprised what I know how to do.
They head for the tram to Soldiers Field and...
Annabelle? Excuse me?
Annabelle, it's me, Esther.
Oh, no, I'm not Annabelle.
Are you sure?
My name is Elizabeth. Do I know you?
Elizabeth? Isn't that a lovely name?
That was odd.
And although it's closing, there are plenty of folks milling around.
2 tickets for passage to the First Lady airship.
Yeah, just a minute, friend. Yeah, I have it. How do you, want to proceed?
In a bit of a rush, pal.
Hey, mister, you're gonna get mustard all over your nice suit.
I got it. I'll ring you back once the matter's in hand.
And we get a choice, draw first or not. If you don't, you get your hand perforated, but either way, the cops attack and Booker kills them all. Elizabeth is shocked by her first taste of violence and runs off.
You killed those people.
Elizabeth,
You're a monster.
what did you think was gonna happen? Do you understand the expense that people went through to keep you locked up in that tower? You think people like that are just gonna let you walk away?
What do they want from me?
I don't know. One thing I've learned. If you don't draw first, you don't get to draw at all.
They can't activate the gondola to the airship without power, so it's off to the Hall of Heroes to get a vigor that can power devices.
Looks like this runs exclusively on shock jockey.
Of course it does.
Oh, it's a bee. I hate these things.
Jeez, just kill it.
No, it'll sting me.
Elizabeth!
I have a better idea.
Wait, what are you doing?
Opening tear.
Oh, shit! What is that?
It's a tear. I used to open them all the time in my tower.
What is a tear?
It's like a window. A window to another world. Sometimes I see something amazing, and I pull it through. There.
Good God.
But there is something. Oh no!
Close it.
I'm trying!
Close it! I don't really understand what I just saw back there, but it sure as hell looks like a shortcut to getting us killed.
Elizabeth explains that she can tear open a portal to other worlds and pull nearly anything through to help Booker in battle.
'Twas yellow skin and slanted eyes that did betray us with their lies, until they crossed the righteous path of our prophet's holy wrath.
The Hall of Heroes is overrun by soldiers following Captain Slate, who led Booker's cavalry at Wounded Knee. Slate was a follower of Comstock until Comstock began taking credit for leading military victories Slate was part of, but Comstock was not.
Our prophet, Father Comstock, commander of the 7th Cavalry.
That man did not lead the 7th. Hell, I don't even remember the guy.
Corporal DeWitt proved his worth on the field that day.
Well, I'll be. Slate? Is that you?
You've always been different, haven't you, Booker? You crave no glory.
Look, I see you're caught up in some kind of jam here. If you could see fit to let us through to where they keep this shock jockey, then we'll...
That tin soldier, Comstock, wants my boys dead. We won't die at his hands.
There's going to be trouble.
We see Comstock transporting a baby to the Archangel Tower, and Booker puts it together.
The seed of the prophet lay in the womb of Our Lady, but for a single week. Comstock had a child. My books never mention anything about a child.
That's quite an omission. Can't imagine that was by accident.
According to the display, after only a week-long pregnancy, Lady Comstock gave birth to...
That's my tower.
You're Comstock's daughter.
No, I can't be. I can't.
He wants you to follow in his footsteps.
Well, I want a puppy, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna get one.
And Comstock placed her in her new home. We find a memorial to Comstock's dead wife, who was strangled by a former servant, Daisy Fitzroy. Daisy escaped and now leads a resistance group called the Vox Populi, fighting for freedom on behalf of Columbia's underclass. We defeat Slate and we're given the choice to kill him or not.
Do you ever get used to it? The killing.
Faster than you can imagine.
We take the shock jockey and return to Soldiers Field, where Comstock is waiting.
He will abandon you, my sweet Elizabeth. Once he has what he needs, he will leave you alone. What else could you expect from a liar and killer of women?
Comstock.
Father, prophet, whomever you are, I'm leaving and there's naught you can do to stop me.
Oh, sweet child. That's where you're...
Comstock will never miss a chance to make a speech, but if he truly believed in his prophecy, he wouldn't be trying to get Elizabeth back. He's just Bowser in a clan hood.
Looks like they call you the false shepherd.
And you the lamb.
Let's not call each other that.
Suits me.
How do you figure they'd know you'd be coming?
Either they've got a prophet on their side,
Har har.
or them that hired me also wrote the signs.
Why?
Got me.
I want to see Paris. I want to see everything.
It's up to you now. There's no one...
Wait, what is that? 40 north by 74 west. That's not Paris, that's New York.
How did you know that?
One thing I had in that tower was time, Mr. DeWitt. Time to study things like geography.
I owed money. And there's a fellow who... He offered to wipe away my debt in exchange for you. Come on, Eddie. Everything's gonna be okay. Will you just turn around?
Booker and Elizabeth have their first disagreement, and she abandons the airship. It's been commandeered by Daisy Fitzroy and the Vox Populi, and they need a favor.
So you're this false shepherd we've been hearing so much about. Caused a mess of trouble at the raffle.
You Fitzroy?
Nothing but.
I got no quarrel with you or your Vox Populi. This is my airship you're hanging me out of, and I got perilous need of it.
Really? Cause it sure look like old Comstock's airship to
Listen,
me.
I ain't looking for a fight.
There's already a fight, DeWitt. Only question is, which side you on? Down in Finkton, there's a gunsmith who can supply weapons to our cause. Get our guns from him, and you shall have your ship back.
In its first half, Infinite has been slowly upping the stakes for a showdown between Booker and Comstock for Elizabeth, all the while with the Vox Populi on the people's lips as a threat from the shadows. But here's where Infinite takes a hard turn. The docks in Finkton are our introduction to how the poor are treated in Columbia by their time-obsessed boss, Jeremiah Fink.
Greetings. My name is Jeremiah Fink. What is the most admirable creature on God's green earth? Why, it's the bee. Have you ever seen a bee on vacation? Have you ever seen a bee take a sick day? Well, my friends, the answer is no. So I say, be the bee.
Just stop for a minute! I just want to talk to you!
I said stay away!
By exploiting the poor and selling to the rich, Fink's name is on nearly everything in Columbia, as ubiquitous as Ryan Industries was in Rapture. Fink could care less about prophecy or religion, but he can sense a business opportunity. And it's this hypocrisy that makes Fink more interesting than Comstock, so it's a shame we don't get much time with him.
Don't go in there!
I have no need of one such as you.
No, no, no!
No! Let me go!
You got her!
Booker tracks Elizabeth through Finkton docks. He rescues her from capture, she rescues him from certain death.
Hey! I'm slipping!
Do not attempt to follow me, Mr. DeWitt.
Elizabeth, I've made an arrangement to get our airship back.
You can get us out of here.
Yes. I just need to supply enough weapons to arm an entire uprising.
And where will we get these weapons? From one of our many friends and allies?
A gunsmith in Finkton should be a walk in the park. What do you say, partners?
You're a liar, Mr. DeWitt. And a thug. But you're also my only means of reaching Paris.
They re-establish their partnership if it means getting the airship back. They try to slip into Finkton where the gunsmith resides, but there are no jobs left, so no one gets in. They find the service elevator, but not before locating Slate's locker with a stolen journal of Lady Comstock.
This is my mother's diary. Why would Slate have it? My husband claims the child was created from whole cloth by divine will. I am a believer, but I am not a fool. His bastard shall not be raised under this roof. My mother, she had me locked in that tower.
Elizabeth.
I just want to get out of this city. Please.
So Elizabeth is not Lady Comstock's daughter. Comstock brought her as a newborn to Columbia.
My family's gotta eat! We need work! Work!
Move it!
Work!
Move it!
Work!
Just...
They find the gunsmith's shop, but he's gone.
Booker.
Mr. Lin, not here. He gone.
Gone?
They take...
Where did they take him?
Club. Everyone take to Good Time Club. Why not Daisy Fitzroy help Chen-Lin?
His wife tells us he was taken by Fink's men for conspiring with the Vox Populi, so we sneak into Fink's jail hidden underneath the Good Time Club. If you spared Slate in the Hall of Heroes, you find him here, lobotomized.
I suppose that was what he wanted.
And you'll find Chen-Lin dead.
This is what he meant.
Now we need to find someone else to make those guns.
No.
Dead is dead, Elizabeth.
Dead is dead.
What? How the hell did...
I see heads.
And I see tails.
It's all a matter of perspective.
Why are you following us? Who sent you? Comstock? What do you want?
What do you see here, from this angle?
Dead.
Listen.
And that angle?
Alive.
Booker. Chen-Lin.
The body's gone.
It was never here.
It's another Columbia.
A different Columbia.
The same coin.
A different perspective.
Heads.
Tails.
Dead.
Alive.
We have to go through to this other Columbia, but
It's like riding a bicycle.
One never really forgets.
One just needs the courage to climb aboard.
if we go into this tear, I don't think I'll be able to bring us back. Are you sure you're ready?
Infinite released in 2013, before the multiverse and the many worlds theory became pop culture staples in shows like Rick and Morty, or films like Avengers Endgame and Everything Everywhere All at Once, so you're probably familiar with Schrodinger's cat. There's several versions of this theory, and pop culture has bent it all sorts of directions, but it always starts with a constant. A cat is placed in a box along with some kind of deadly object. In this example, we have a machine in the box with a 50% chance of killing my cat within 1 minute and a 50% chance of doing nothing. You close the box and activate the machine. Alexa, kill my cat. Then wait 1 minute. If you view time as linear, there's only one state the cat can be in, alive and slightly confused, or dead and hopefully haunting you. But in this example, at the point of singularity, closing the box, we create two separate realities. One where the cat stays alive, and one where it dies in the box. So the cat is in a quantum superposition as both alive and dead, and we don't know which reality we're in until we open the box and observe the cat. So Elizabeth opens a tear to a world where the cat, or Chen-Lin, is still alive.
Look, there's no blood.
And no body.
It's another world, Booker. Another Columbia.
Something tells me one dead gunsmith ain't the only thing that's changed.
Let's call this reality Columbia 2, and if you're confused now, don't worry, it gets worse. Everything else is mostly the same, but the once empty cells are now filled with the Vox Populi, and the guards you killed in Columbia 1 are glitching between two worlds, bleeding from their noses.
Look at their noses. They're all bleeding.
What's wrong with them?
They remember
Remember what?
being dead.
I'm Booker DeWitt.
Stand back! These machines very dangerous. Wait downstairs with Mrs. Lin.
Daisy Fitzroy sent us. We need to talk to you about getting some weapons.
Machines very dangerous. No place for stupid people.
We return to Chen-Lin's shop. His wife has been upgraded, and Chen-Lin is here, but his machinery has been confiscated by the police department in the workers' shantytown.
You just got dealt a bad hand.
I am not going back to that tower no matter what happens.
They won't stop until they have you.
Why? What did I do to them?
You frighten them.
Good.
So we go on another quest to find the poorest section of Columbia, where Fink's employees sleep on the street, break into vending machines for food, or drink their troubles away. Any attempts to organize or even grow communal food are quickly squashed by the police.
Who are we really helping by getting guns for the Vox Populi?
It's gonna help us.
Daisy can make a change, can't she? Make things better for the people here.
Sure.
We find all of Chen-Lin's confiscated machinery, but there's a problem.
Well, we sure as hell aren't gonna be able to carry all this back to the shop. God, we didn't think this all the way through. What is that?
It looks like a tear to another version of this room that doesn't have any tools in it.
Well, if the tools aren't in there,
Then they must be back
at the shop.
So we open a tear to Columbia 3, where Chen-Lin's gear was never confiscated, and my jaw dropped for a second time. I realized there was no way I could use what I'd learned from other games to predict what could happen in Infinite.
Booker, if the Vox get their weapons, there's going to be a revolution just like Les Miserables.
Which is exactly how somebody might view a revolution if they've never seen a guillotine. In this Columbia, the revolution is on, and the Vox are marching to the factory, and they have a martyr to their cause.
You're Booker DeWitt, the hero of the Vox.
What the hell are they talking about?
Look at that poster. In this world, you're a hero.
I remember I led the Vox. Slate and I burned down the Hall of Heroes.
Booker, your nose.
In Columbia 3, another Booker teamed up with Slate and the Vox Populi to free the city's underclass from their oppressors, only to die in the fight. Here, like the cat, Booker is both alive and dead, and his nose begins to bleed.
Chen-Lin and his wife have both been killed, but the Vox Populi have their guns and they're off to burn down Fink's factory. We help them storm the place, but Daisy isn't exactly glad to see us.
I was so set on getting to Paris. I didn't really think that
You couldn't have known this would happen.
I had a role in this catastrophe. If you want to pretend that we're purely innocents in this, then that's your prerogative, but...
Hello? Fink?
I saw you die, Booker. Saw it with my own eyes.
All yours.
Listen, I got you your guns. I'm here for my airship.
But my Booker DeWitt died for the Vox Populi. You either an imposter or a ghost. My Booker DeWitt was a hero to the cause, a story to tell your children. You just complicate the narrative.
Booker!
We head to Fink's office, where Daisy has Fink and his young son at gunpoint.
No! No!
Daisy turns the Vox on us and grabs Fink's son to kill him too. And when people say BioShock Infinite aged poorly, they're usually talking about this moment.
Is this your movement, Daisy?
This is what needs to be done. You see, the founders ain't nothing but weeds. Cut them down and they just grow back. If you want to get rid of the weed, you gotta pull it up from the root. It's the only way to be...
Elizabeth.
I guess it runs in the family.
Elizabeth. Whoa, hey, easy.
We've heard Daisy on countless voxophones plotting a revolution, but we've only met her once when she threw Booker out of his airship. And that was Daisy from Columbia 1, not this Daisy in Columbia 3. So it could be this particular Daisy was the most bloodthirsty version of herself, but viewers took this to mean that if given the chance, the Vox Populi would be just as ruthless as Comstock and Fink.
When it comes down to it, the only difference between Comstock and Fitzroy is how you spell the name.
I have no idea if Daisy or the Vox are capable of reforming Columbia. But after spending hours of this game watching their gleeful oppression by the white people in Columbia, I wanted the Vox Populi to succeed, only to have Infinite tell me Daisy and her crew would be equally terrible, so why did you even bother? It is fine to show shades of gray, and for your characters to not be perfect. But audiences don't respond well to both sidesing in games, and I will have a lot to say about that later this year. And the game does try to fix this in Burial at Sea, but that only makes things worse. Elizabeth expresses her disapproval, and the pair take back Lady Comstock's airship. Elizabeth deals with her trauma by giving herself a makeover, and now they have to make a choice.
So the moment of truth between us. New York or Paris? No!
Shit. Come on, we gotta find a way to make this thing go faster.
There's gotta be some sort of throttle or accelerator.
Do you know what that looks like?
I don't know.
Help me find it! Elizabeth!
That's not it.
Certainly is.
Isn't.
Is.
Try again.
All right.
Hold on.
Here you are.
Stop it!
No, that is not his
Stop
time.
it! You don't know what you're doing!
There it is.
You've done it now. He's coming back. He's coming back.
The notes were correct.
The instrument was not.
One needs both to get his attention.
But if you know how to sing to him...
He will take you where you need to go.
Who are you?
We are where we are needed.
And needed where we are.
So Comstock uses these songs. Well, are there others we can use? Something to keep the bird off our back?
Perhaps you should ask the maestro himself.
So where is he? Of course.
Songbird's will might be changed if we play the right song for him with the right instrument, and we might find that at Comstock's residence. The Lutesses appear more and more, guiding Booker and Elizabeth towards their showdown with Comstock. Rosalind Lutess created the quantum particles that keep Columbia suspended in the sky. These particles could be used by a machine to create tears into different realities, which is where she saw Robert, a version of herself who was her perfect copy, but a man. Robert joined her in this reality, and the two of them had been working with Comstock until he had them blown up. It turns out their bones weren't constant, they were variables. We weave through the residential district while the rampaging Vox mow down anyone they find.
The seed of the prophet shall sit the throne. He was grooming me, wasn't he?
Comstock? Yeah, I think so.
And why lock me up?
Well, I'm guessing you didn't want to be groomed. Maybe he had something in the works to make you agreeable.
Like what?
I think it's best we don't find out. Why are you so keen on lockpicking and code breaking?
If you put a person in a cage, they develop an interest in such things.
I suppose so.
And I won't be locked up again. Promise me.
I will stop him.
That is an oath you cannot keep. But promise me that if it comes to it, you will not let him take me back.
Songbird has killed Booker in nearly every Columbia he's existed in so far, but Booker promises he won't let Songbird take Elizabeth. We reach the gate to Comstock House, but there's a problem, and a morbid solution.
Lady Comstock, how lovely to see you. Wonderful of you to make the journey, especially considering your painful death 19 years ago.
Lady Comstock?
The dress. The thing has mistaken me for my mother.
Your fingerprints do not seem to be your own today, Lady Comstock. Are you unwell?
This isn't going to work.
I think it can.
Your mother's dead, Elizabeth.
Yes. I think it's time I paid my respects. Let's head to where she's buried.
It's your mother's grave.
They have her preserved in an airtight chamber. Fingerprints will get us into Comstock House.
Take a moment to think about what you're doing.
There. Will you open the door, or do I have to go in without you? How are you, Mother? All locked up in there, huh? Looks like you and I have some common ground.
Let me do it.
No.
Let me do it.
You see, child, you chose to follow a false shepherd, and he has led you astray. What I do for love. What lion does not cringe to see their coven pain, but spare the rod, spoil the child. If you won't listen to me, perhaps you will listen to your mother.
So we travel to Lady Comstock's preserved body, but Comstock has found us.
Elizabeth, why is your mother a ghost?
She's not. He used me to power that device. He opened up some kind of tear.
Comstock and Elizabeth have pulled an apparition, a version of Lady Comstock and who Elizabeth thinks Lady Comstock was, into this world, and it's raising the dead all around us. We have to alternate between concentrating our fire on her and doing crowd control, or we'll quickly get overwhelmed.
It's a shame you have need of her to enter Comstock House.
Frankly, she doesn't seem all that cooperative.
There is a way to bring her to reason.
3 truths you must discover first.
Truths which, in this world, Comstock has destroyed.
If only one of you had the power to alter time and space.
That would be a blessing, wouldn't it?
To get her help opening the gate, we'll need to find 3 truths that Comstock is buried. After slipping through the Bank of the Prophet, a photographer's studio, and the Lutess's old lab, we learn that 1. Comstock is sterile and has aged rapidly due to his exposure to the Lutess's machine, meaning that neither he nor Lady Comstock are Elizabeth's real parents. 2. Comstock asked Fink to sabotage the Lutess's machine to kill them and make it look like an accident, which he did. 3. Robert and Rosalind were killed in this reality, but they gained the power to appear across realities, including this one. Robert and Rosalind's machine is what caused tears to appear in Columbia, which characters use for their own ends. And Comstock saw a tear, one possible reality, where Elizabeth rained fire down on New York from Columbia. His prophecy, everything he built his religion and community around, was a tear. Elizabeth confronts this version of her mother at the gate to Comstock House, and after we shoot this ghost nothing, we learn that Comstock worried his wife would tell people that Elizabeth was not her daughter, so he strangled Lady Comstock and framed Daisy.
I owe you an apology. Comstock used me to bring you back, but I brought back a version of you from the reality that I had built up in my own head. My days of victimhood are done. We must forgive each other.
Elizabeth forgives her, and the path to Comstock House opens. But Songbird can't be stopped.
Bring us the girl and wipe away the debt.
Stop it! Stop it! Don't hurt him! I'm sorry! I'm sorry. I never should have left. I never should have left. Take me back. Take me home. Please.
Come after me if you want. I'm not letting you take her, you hear me? Ah, you feathered piece of shit! I'm not going to...
Booker runs after her, but it's suddenly snowing.
Snow? It's July, is that?
Some men dream of money.
What the...
Some men dream of love. My father dreamt of a flood of fire. We were given Eden, and we turned it into Sodom. Why do we deserve salvation?
And we realize this is a fourth version of Columbia many years in the future, and Elizabeth has followed in her father's footsteps. Inside Comstock House is an asylum, where we hear echoes of Elizabeth being tormented for leaving her tower. We hear her faith that Booker is coming to rescue her wane as months roll by into years, and Booker never shows. And she becomes the very thing she feared most, her father's lamb.
What is it?
Why do you ask what?
When the delicious question is when.
Lives, lived, will live.
Dies, died, will die.
It took all I had left in me just to bring you here.
Elizabeth, I don't understand. I heard you screaming. I was coming to get you. Are we...
Here. Take my hand. The seed of the prophet shall sit the throne and drown in flame the mountains of man. Say what you will about Comstock. He was a hell of a fortune teller.
An elderly Elizabeth presides over Columbia's attack on New York in the 1980s.
Time rots everything, Booker. Even hope.
I was coming.
Songbird. He always stops you.
Yes, but I would find a way.
No. It's too late for me. I brought you here for your sake. Yours and hers. Here.
What is this?
It's for her. She'll know how to read it.
What does it say?
It's advice.
Advice on what?
How not to become me.
We get a note for Elizabeth from Elizabeth, and we're booted back to Columbia 3, where our Elizabeth is being hooked up to a machine against her will while Comstock watches.
Comstock! What are you doing to her? Let her be!
Booker shuts down the siphons draining her power, and Elizabeth summons a tornado to wipe out the staff. Booker and Elizabeth leave the asylum to find Comstock and kill him.
Booker, are you afraid of God?
No, but I'm afraid of you.
They reach Comstock's airship and find him on the top deck.
You are walking into a trap.
I need to do this.
Come here, child. Oh, come on, I don't bite. My, oh my, how you have grown. Look at you, child. You're a mess.
Let go of her.
Elizabeth, everything I've done to keep you safe.
Safe from what?
Seed of the prophet shall sit the throne and drown in flame the mountains of man. But the Archangel revealed something else.
And it's only when Comstock turns to Booker that we get closer to the truth.
Beware the false shepherd, Booker DeWitt, for he shall be as a wall between her and destiny.
Why?
Ask him, child. Ask him what happened to your finger. Ask DeWitt.
Let go of me.
Ask him. Ask the false shepherd. Tell her.
And using the final words of Jesus,
it is finished.
Nothing is finished.
Booker.
You lock her up for her whole life.
Booker.
You cut off her finger and you put it on me.
Booker, stop it!
Comstock dies.
You killed him. What did he mean? Huh? You tell me, what did he mean about my finger?
I just assumed you were born with it. I don't know.
Your nose. It's bleeding.
What? Elizabeth, I swear to you, I have no idea what he was talking about.
You too. You just can't remember it.
No. I'll prove it to you. We'll destroy the siphon. The answer's behind one of your doors. You just have to open it.
Destroy the siphon? It's the entire tower, Booker. How are we gonna do that?
I don't know. But I'll think of something on the way.
Booker and Elizabeth head for the tower to destroy the siphon that's limiting Elizabeth's power, while she ponders the note from herself.
Cage, what is that?
Now what?
What is she trying to tell us? Cage. Cage, I'm missing something.
They said they knew what was best for us.
Booker?
They said they knew what was coming next.
Booker!
Did you see this coming, old man?
Okay, we gotta get ready.
This coming,
They mean to board us.
You ain't gonna place your daughter on the throne. We're gonna place her in our grave.
We have to sing to him!
Sing to who? Elizabeth, stop it!
C-A-G-E! It's not a word, Booker! It's a song! Shh, it's okay. I'm here. Will you help me? I need you to protect me. Will you do it? Will you do this for me? Just this one last thing. Booker, he'll help us. We can use him against the Vox fleet. Booker, come here.
What? What is it?
Look, you can use the songbird to bring the whole damn thing down. Destroy the siphon.
And that's what you want?
It's the only way we'll find the truth. About my finger, Comstock, everything.
Booker blows the whistle, Songbird destroys the tower, Elizabeth's power is unleashed.
Where is he? Where is he?
It's okay. It's all right. I'm here. Just let go. There you go. There you go.
Elizabeth, I'm sorry.
And my jaw hit the floor for the third time. Booker and Elizabeth are in Rapture, the underwater city from BioShock 1 and 2.
What is this place? Elizabeth?
It's a doorway. One of many. This is where we have to go.
Why? What is going on? Elizabeth, what do you mean this is a doorway?
I'll have to show you.
We're in the first level, the Welcome Center, where the player emerges from the bathysphere. We surface and find a lighthouse.
Look at that. Thousands of doors. Opening all at once. My God, they're beautiful.
The stars?
Come on. Come on, it's this way. Come on.
Are you going to open it?
It's no good. Damn it. I thought once we were here, I could fully control it. I thought...
What is that?
It's a key.
Where did it come from?
It's always been there. I just couldn't see it. See? Not stars. They're doors.
Doors to...
To everywhere. All that's left is the choosing.
And now there are countless lighthouses.
What are all these lighthouses? Why are we... Who are...
There are a million worlds. All different and all similar. Constants and variables.
What?
There's always a lighthouse. There's always a man. There's always a city.
How do you know this?
I can see them through the doors. You, me, Columbia, Songbird. But sometimes, something's different, yet the same.
Constants and variables.
Yes. Look.
It's us.
Not exactly. We swim in different oceans but land on the same shore. But it always starts with a lighthouse.
I don't understand.
We don't need to. It'll happen all the same.
Why?
Because it does.
No one tells me where to go.
Booker, you've already been.
The next door opens on a baptism service 20 years ago, with the same preacher from the game's opening.
I know this place. I was here. It must have been 20 years ago, right after Wounded Knee. I was looking for...
Come on now, time's a-wasted.
Why were you here?
Are you ready to have your past erased? Are you ready to have your sins cleansed? Are you ready to be born again? Take my hand.
No. No, I don't want to.
You already did, didn't you?
Are you ready to be born again?
I am.
Do you hate your sins?
I do.
Do you hate your wickedness?
Yes.
Do you want to clean the slate, leave behind all you were before, and be born again in the blood of the Lamb? Jesus, wash this man clean. Father...
But Booker can't go through with it and rejects the baptism.
Get off, son!
You didn't go through with
You
it.
think a dunk in the river's gonna change the things I've done? Let's get out of here. Hey, these doors of yours, they're all tears, right? Well, open one up. Open one up to Paris. I want to be shut of all this.
Not until we find Comstock.
Comstock's dead!
No. He was here. This way.
And what of my debts?
Bring us the girl, and wipe away the debt.
This is the man who hired me to find you.
Really?
Yes. The girl for the debt.
We're back in Booker's office with Robert Lutece making the offer, but the Elizabeth standing before us isn't the girl. This is Anna DeWitt, A.D., Booker's baby daughter.
What is this? There was no baby. I remember. No, there was no baby, and if there was, I sure as hell wouldn't give it over to this guy.
Booker, you don't leave this room until you do.
DeWitt, time is running short. Bring us the girl, and wipe away the debt.
Go ahead.
No.
You can wait as long as you want. Eventually, you'll give him what he wants.
How do you know all this?
I can see all the doors, and what's behind all the doors. And behind one of them, I see him.
Comstock. What choice do I have?
The debt's paid. Mr. Comstock washes you of all your sins.
Bring us the girl and wipe away the debt.
There was no baby. The deal was I go to Columbia to get you.
Booker, you're bleeding.
Oh. I remember what I remember.
Now we've upset him.
I don't expect this next bit will do much for his mood.
Come on.
What are we doing here? Comstock's dead. We can just go on with our lives. You don't need
Dead?
to...
You mean like Chen-Lin? Like Lady Comstock? No. He is alive in a million worlds. It's not over because the Prophet is dead. It will only be over when he never even lived in the first place.
But just because the Comstock in Columbia 3 is dead, there are endless realities filled with Comstocks.
Hey, the deal's off, you hear me?
Booker tries to cancel the deal and finds the clients, the Lutesses, and a much younger Comstock.
Give her back, you son of a bitch!
It's ready! Go!
No!
Shut down the machine!
No!
Shut it down! Shut down the machine! Now do it!
Give me back my daughter! No!
The portal closes, but the tip of Anna's pinky finger is severed, and Anna, or if you haven't figured it out yet, baby Elizabeth, is the first person to be in two worlds at once.
Anna's gone. You shared this room with your regret for almost 20 years. Until one day, a man came to you and offered you a chance at redemption. A chance for us to be together.
After the Lutesses were killed, Booker was hired by Robert to stop Comstock's prophecy. Since Comstock double-crossed them, they've been pulling Bookers out of as many realities as possible and sending him to take Elizabeth from Columbia.
Do you suppose he branded himself as some sort of penance?
Should've.
Don't see the point. What's done is done. What's done will be done. I suppose the brand is his hair shirt, as he is ours.
There are constants, such as Booker's coin will always land heads, and Booker will never row the boat. And variables. One Booker was killed fighting with the Vox Populi. Many Bookers were killed by Songbird.
See? He's starting to put his story together.
You're quite fond of this theory of yours.
He's manufacturing new memories from his old ones.
Well, the brain adapts.
I should know. I lived it.
Booker, wake up. Booker, wake up. This is where it started.
I sold you. I sold you.
To your credit, you did try to weasel out of the deal.
This is all Comstock's fault. What if I went back? Killed him before he did any of this?
Things get set in motion.
How would one know how far back to go?
That's the only way to do it. Go back to when he was born, and I'll smother this son of a bitch in his crib.
But this Booker, you, somehow pulled it off. You stopped one Comstock.
Are you sure this is what you want?
I have to. It's the only way to undo what I've done to you.
And we're back at the baptism, the singularity where two realities were formed.
Are you ready to be born again?
Why are we back here?
This isn't the same place, Booker.
Of course it is. I remember.
Are you ready to leave behind all that has gone before? Wipe the slate clean.
Who are you?
You chose to walk away, but in other oceans, you didn't. You took the baptism. You were born again as a different man.
20-some years ago, after the massacre at Wounded Knee, Booker DeWitt attended a baptism service to wash away the sins he committed. This was the moment of singularity where two different realities were formed. In one reality, at the last minute, Booker couldn't go through with the baptism. He walked away and followed the same path he always had. In another, he accepted the baptism and was born again under his new Christian name, Zachary Comstock, who eventually founded Columbia. These two would never meet again until the night Comstock and Robert Lutece used a tear to travel into Booker's reality and buy Booker's daughter Anna, whom Comstock renamed Elizabeth.
It all has to end, to have never started, not just in this world, but in all of ours.
Smother him in the crib.
Smother, 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 smother. Before the choice is made, before you are reborn.
And what name shall you take, my son?
He's Zachary Comstock. He's Booker DeWitt.
No. They're both.
You're surrounded by Elizabeths from other timelines and yours, and they drown you in the river, preventing Zachary Comstock from ever emerging. With their father now dead, the Elizabeths disappear one by one. They've killed the cat before the box. A post-credit scene shows Booker waking up and opening Anna's door, hinting that maybe, just maybe, there's one timeline where Booker refused the deal and kept his daughter.
Is that you? Well, you gotta name this.
You can call me Elizabeth.
Infinite's DLC Burial at Sea is unapologetic fan service, and that's fine. Yes, there are a number of deviations from the lore of BioShock Infinite, and the game is not designed for stealth. But if you want to see Rapture in its heyday and spend time with Sandra Cohen, Dr. Suchong, and Atlas, then it's worth trying what will probably be our last trip to Rapture.
No!
Burial at Sea becomes challenging to accept when it tries to rewrite Infinite's lore. First, some of the tears appearing around Columbia connect Jeremiah Fink with Suchong and they begin collaborating. This was, I think, an attempt to explain how Vigors appeared in Columbia despite there being no atom-carrying sea slugs in the sky, and the similarities in design between Columbia's Songbird and Rapture's Big Daddies. But the worst revision is an attempt to address player feedback and redeem Daisy Fitzroy.
I will see Fink and Comstock burn, but I will not hold the son to account for the deeds of his father.
You've misunderstood us.
We neither asked you to harm the child.
Nor did we promise that yours would be the hand that would set Comstock's world afire.
A famous man once said,
And a famous man shall say,
I may reach the mountaintop,
but I fear I shall never visit the valley below.
But you mean I won't live to see the... No.
It's up to you what matters more.
Your part in the play?
Or the play itself.
Someone is coming.
She'll arrive, a girl.
She must leave. A woman.
And what makes the difference between a girl and a woman?
Blood.
We don't know why Daisy knows the Lutesses, or why she would give up on leading the revolution just to let some woman she's never met kill her. But all this does is confirm the game's creators never really thought this moment through, and now they're scrambling to justify it because of the negative reactions.
I am so sorry.
No, you're not. But you're about to be.
So how do you fix a game like BioShock Infinite, which does plenty of things well, but has clearly split the audience? Infinite is a game in 4 acts. Act 1 is everything up to meeting Elizabeth and escaping her tower. Act 2 is trying to leave Columbia with Elizabeth, up to her severing your arrangement and leaving you in the hands of the Vox Populi. Act 3 is trying to secure Chen-Lin's guns for Daisy, and Act 4 is confronting Comstock and managing the multiverse. We can make some changes in the first 2 acts to set up what we need, but most of the problems occur in the second half. First, many players said they didn't connect with Booker, and it's not hard to see why. He's hardened because of years of regretful decisions, but that doesn't make us want to see him succeed. Going back to The Last of Us, playing Booker is like playing Joel without the opening sequence where he loses his daughter Sarah. When we meet Joel many years later, he's a lot like Booker. But with Joel, we understand that he had the ability to love and protect and feel, but it was destroyed when his daughter died in his arms. If we just met Joel without seeing the person he should have been, we probably wouldn't like him much either. I understand what Booker knows about himself as a fabrication his mind created to comprehend why he was in that rowboat. And having no character backstory worked in the first BioShock because the character we were playing as wasn't voiced. But Booker is. And there's no stakes to him succeeding or failing that we care about. And that needs to change. Which brings us to Comstock. Comstock isn't a compelling villain. He really only pops up a few times, and any waves of enemies he sends are easily defeated. His lore is interesting, but he isn't. Comstock's greatest weapon is that he knows Booker, and Booker doesn't. But Comstock would rather rant into the nearest voxophone about how white people are superior than use his best weapon to recover Elizabeth, the truth. If this were the present day, he and Fink would have the worst podcast. Which brings us to the racism. It is perfectly fine to depict Columbia as a microcosm of how the US handled race relations in 1912. We don't have to defeat racism by the end of the game. But players wanted this trudge through an ugly side of American history to be worth it. And by the final act, the game is way more interested in quantum particles than justifying that walk through the muck. And the solution to fixing how Infinite depicts racism without turning the game into a lecture could be Booker. In the game, Booker is ambivalent to the segregation in Columbia. It doesn't affect him personally, and it's just the way the world works. And that attitude might have been common in 1912, but it likely created a wedge between Booker and modern players because these days, other than the very young or impressionable, when it comes to racism, most people have picked a side. Booker's journey through Columbia should ignite some change in him.
You hurt people.
I'll tell you this. Sometimes there's precious need for folks like Fitzroy.
Why?
Because of folks like me.
But there I go again, injecting my point of view into a game where Booker would never become an activist, except of course he would. I'm right about everything. When the Booker in Columbia 3 never found Elizabeth, for reasons we'll cover in a moment, he joined the Vox Populi. He and Slate burned down the Hall of Heroes and helped Daisy take the fight to Comstock. So there is a version of Booker that would fight for the freedom of others. But why would a thug for hire like Booker want to help people? The answer might lie at Wounded Knee and the baptism that never happened.
You were there. At Wounded Knee. I can see it in your face. What did you try to erase?
Now that you're out of yours, you might realize cages have their advantages.
A choice is better than none, Mr. DeWitt.
Yeah. What if you woke up one day and realized you didn't like what you chose?
In the game, we discover on Voxophones that Booker is part Native American. He dodges any questions about his role as a U.S. soldier at Wounded Knee, but this was before the baptism, so Comstock was there too, and he remembers.
In front of all the men, the sergeant looked at me and said, "Your family tree shelters a teepee or two, doesn't it, son?" This lie, this calumny had followed me all my life. From that day, no man truly called me comrade. It was only when I burnt the teepees with the squaws inside did they take me as one of their own. Only blood can redeem blood.
This was why Booker sought forgiveness for the blood on his hands 20 years ago, but he couldn't go through with it. So there has to be some part of Booker that wants to make amends.
Which brings us to Daisy threatening Fink's son. I have a rule in these videos to say that we can't change the major plot points of the games that we fix, because at some point, you're not fixing the game anymore, you're writing your own fan fiction. We could change how we get there, we could change why we get there, and we will. But Elizabeth killing someone for the first time is a major turning point for her character and sends her down a way darker path in the final act. Even though I think there could have been a more effective crisis point that doesn't void all of our feelings about the Vox's revolution, Daisy has to threaten Fink's son. Elizabeth has to kill her. When I picked this game, I accepted that because of the subject matter, there was no way I could make changes that would please everyone. And if you feel like you have to light me up in the comments for what you're about to see, go ahead.
Infinite isn't missing Andrew Ryan, it's missing Frank Fontaine. It's missing the characters that round out the world and make it feel alive. Fink and Fitzroy could have been those characters, and we're gonna fix that. Finally, once we start jumping through tears, Infinite's story deflates because there stops being any consequences for our actions. We go from a rising conflict between Booker and Comstock to running all over Finkton for Chen-Lin's guns, putting the story we were invested in on pause for several hours. And the multiple worlds just bring up more questions. If there are other Bookers in other realities, and we know there are, why don't we see the other Elizabeths before the end? It's said that in Columbia 3, Comstock brought that Elizabeth to the asylum once he learned Booker arrived. But then, where is she in this scene? I think the answer to these problems is time. The game would like us to believe that time isn't linear, it's happening all at once, but even if that's true, that doesn't drive a story. The attack on New York happens 71 years after the events of BioShock Infinite, so we don't feel any motivation to stop Comstock immediately in the final act. I'm gonna give BioShock Infinite that most classic tool of linear time: a ticking clock. But before I do, how would you fix BioShock Infinite? Let me know in the comments. Since I'm a constant, I'll go first. We open on Booker in the rowboat. I like the parallels between the first BioShock and Infinite, playing with our expectations and teasing out that we only think we know what's to come. But I want to give Booker something human, something that makes him more than just a brute for hire. I want Booker to remember Anna. But not the way you think. He reaches Columbia, samples how great it is to be there if you happen to look like Booker. He's forced to accept the love of Christ. I'm gonna baptize you! But this time, while he's unconscious, instead of more give us the girl and wipe away the debt, we see Booker with baby Anna in his office. Robert Lutess informed us at the start of the game that when pulled into another reality, a subject's mind will create new memories to help the owner cope. He thinks Anna is back home in New York with the landlady awaiting his return. Booker is doing all of this to wipe away a debt, but he hopes to move Anna out of New York. He hears knocking outside, opens the door, and sees the city in flames. Booker wakes, flips a coin, gets a telegram, has enough sense to cover the AD on his hand, but it falls off after you choose to throw the baseball at Fink. right? In the fray, we find the voxophone from Fink where he mentions not believing in Comstock's prophecy, but this time, Fink mentions that if Columbia attacks New York, the US will respond, and his business empire in Columbia could be destroyed. He's been working behind the scenes to slow Comstock down, but he's not ruled out killing Comstock to protect his assets. If Comstock sees himself as Jesus, then Fink can be Judas. Not that Judas, that's another game. Let's talk about Comstock, because making him a better villain is key to fixing Infinite. But how do you do that without fundamentally changing his role in the story? We only interact with Comstock a few times, and he usually rants at Elizabeth about a false shepherd. But Elizabeth has no real idea who Comstock is. She knows Comstock like I know George Washington. She's aware he exists, but they don't know each other.
Father, prophet, whomever you are, I'm leaving, and there's naught you can do to stop me.
And when that changes, she doesn't like what she finds. So why would she listen to him? But who does he know? Who does Comstock know better than anyone? Booker DeWitt. Imagine being Comstock for a moment. In your mind, you left behind a shameful past, turned your life around, found religion, then founded a religion around yourself, built a city in the clouds where your flock hangs on your every word. You've killed or imprisoned anyone who could stop you, and you have riches kings would envy. You won! You could do anything! And then that shameful, depraved, soulless person you used to be shows up one day to take all of that away from you, and you have to convince them not to. How would you do that? How would you negotiate with the worst version of yourself? In his final scene on the Hand of the Prophet, Comstock is a different character than he was for the whole game.
Come here, child. Oh, come on, I don't bite. My, oh my, how you have grown.
Even if he's not, he appears to be a caring father, concerned for Elizabeth's well-being. This Comstock is charming. This Comstock is relatable. This Comstock scares me. Because I can see how this Comstock convinced a city full of people to give him half their money to listen to his ranting every Sunday. This Comstock is a silver-tongued devil that all of Columbia loves and worships without knowing who he used to be, and this Comstock should be our villain. Comstock still lives by his prophecy that the Lamb, his daughter the Miracle Child, will drown in flame the mountains of man. But let's clarify that prophecy a little. In this version, the attack will only succeed if Comstock has already died. Booker can't make it to Monument Island, so he flies across the skylines in the city and is stopped by Comstock.
Stand down! Stand down!
But this time, Comstock isn't attacking New York 70 years from now. It will happen in days, led by the Lamb. He tells Booker Jesus died for everyone's sins, and yet those sins continue. So the best way to love the sinner is to remove their ability to sin any longer. And Comstock knows Booker carries a lot of sins. Comstock knows Booker and hates him. Hates that part of himself he used to be. Comstock turned that hate, disguised it as love, outward towards anyone he could judge, use, or oppress, while Booker turned his inward onto himself. But of course he can't tell Booker that. He tries to convince Booker that he's looking out for him. He knows Booker must feel in over his head, having seen the scale of Columbia and the police force Comstock controls. And it's Comstock's job throughout the game to tempt Booker, appeal to Booker's selfish nature that Comstock knows all too well. Comstock offers Booker his airship and tells him he can have safe passage back to the surface. He can leave this place and forget this ever happened. Booker notes the army of police surrounding him and pretends to agree, but plans to commandeer the airship and take it to Monument Island. Once he's on board, Comstock springs the trap.
The Lord forgives everything. But I'm just a prophet. So I don't have to. Amen.
It seems it's not so easy to outsmart yourself. Booker thinks Anna is back in New York, so it's imperative he find Elizabeth quickly and finish the job. As we saw in Booker's dream, there are cannons and armaments being shipped out to positions around Columbia, and of course, Fink's factory is making the weapons. Columbia is abuzz about how we're going to spread the hot, flaming love of God into the Sodom below, also known as Manhattan. But of course, the rich, white citizens of Columbia won't be doing the fighting. The poor in Shantytown are all being drafted to fight in Comstock's army, whether they like it or not. We make it to Monument Island, England, see Paris in the 80s, team up with Elizabeth, escape the collapsing tower, and fall into Battleship Bay. After picking the bird or the cage, the people of Columbia see the smoke rising from Elizabeth's tower, and they're worried it was Daisy Fitzroy in the Vox Populi. If you take the time to search the staff quarters and segregated bathrooms, you find flyers asking people to join the Vox, because the coming war is not their war, and Columbia's underclass will be the first sent to die. The Vox have been disrupting the effort to gear up for Comstock's attack on New York, and they're recruiting.
So, Mr. DeWitt, is there a woman in your life?
There was. She died.
How?
Giving birth.
Oh. You have a child?
And here we have Booker tell Elizabeth about Anna. Tell her Anna is the only good thing he's ever done. And let's see him show some emotion when speaking about his daughter. But when the subject of Paris comes up, we also see that he's willing to lie to Elizabeth for Anna's sake. Booker and Elizabeth make it to the Soldiers Field boardwalk and explore. But instead of the gondola to the aerodrome just not working, it's been sabotaged by the Vox Populi. And here's where we meet Daisy Fitzroy, not later in the airship. Daisy and a team of the Vox are here to cut off access to Lady Comstock's airship to stop it from being used against them when they attack a supply convoy in the next few hours. Daisy tries to recruit Booker to the Vox using the same speech she gives on the airship.
Comstock is the god of the white man, the rich man, the pitiless man. But if you believe in common folk, then join the Vox. If you believe in the righteous folk, then join the Vox.
Saying she has a benefactor that's funding their campaign against Comstock. And you get a choice to stay with Elizabeth or join the Vox Populi. If you choose the Vox, Elizabeth reminds you of your promise to take her to Paris, and you relent and stay with Elizabeth. Yes, it's another false choice, but I'm gonna pay it off later, trust me. They head to the Hall of Heroes to get the shock jockey, and Booker confides in Elizabeth that he was in Wounded Knee when he was just 16. Booker mentions the medal he got for slaughtering the Native Americans, and that he was told he was one of the good ones. The Pinkertons said so too. He's been a tool his whole life for people like Comstock to win wars, or people like Fink to stop unions. They get the shock jockey, fix the gondola. Comstock arrives, but instead of ranting about a false shepherd to Elizabeth, Comstock speaks to Booker and attempts to buy off his debt. He knows Booker needs the money better than anyone, and there's no need to risk his life. Comstock will double what he owes if Booker walks away and lets Elizabeth remain in his wonderful city where she'll definitely be better off. Booker can leave peacefully with the money, and this escapade can end. Elizabeth refuses the deal on Booker's behalf, but Comstock's men have been sneaking up on Booker and Elizabeth this whole time from behind. They survive the ambush and head to the airship. Booker puts in the coordinates to New York and tells Elizabeth he has to pick up Anna first. Shouldn't take long from Maine. They see the cannons on Columbia's perimeter. Booker notes that the cannons will tear them to shreds if they try to escape, so they have to wait for a distraction. Just then, a series of explosions go off below them as a supply convoy is being raided by the Vox Populi. The crowd below starts shooting at them because Booker and Elizabeth are in one of Comstock's ships. The ship is damaged, they have a rough landing, and Booker is knocked out. He wakes, the Vox are tending to their wounded, and Elizabeth is trying to wake Booker. Daisy's second in command, he's not given a name in the game, let's call him David, asks Booker for help. Daisy was captured in the last attack by Comstock's men. Fink was the one bankrolling Daisy and the Vox Populi to prevent Comstock from attacking New York and threatening his empire. With Daisy in custody, Fink might have Daisy killed to prevent her from sharing their secrets. So Fink allows Comstock's men to lock Daisy up in the prison under the Good Time Club, where Fink's men will have easy access to her cell. Booker and Elizabeth fight their way through Fink's job interview and down to the prison, where they find Daisy tortured and dead.
Too late. God damn it.
No.
Dead is dead, Elizabeth.
Dead is dead.
What? How the hell did...
I see heads.
And I see tails.
It's all a matter of perspective.
Why are you following us?
The Lutesses appear and convince Elizabeth to open a tear to Columbia too. She does, and Daisy's body is gone.
There's no blood.
And no body.
It's another world, Booker. Another Columbia.
They return to the airship. Elizabeth reminds Booker that if Daisy is here, it isn't the same Daisy. She might not remember you. But Daisy is there, and she's thrilled to see Booker. She asks him how he got out, and Booker doesn't understand. He asks if Daisy means the Good Time Club, and Daisy tells the Vox to draw their guns because this Booker might be a spy. She says Booker agreed to work with the Vox, but he was captured by Comstock's men and taken to the police station in Shantytown. Elizabeth puts it together. In Columbia 1, Daisy was diverted because Fink didn't want his secret getting out. But if Booker was captured instead of Daisy in Columbia 2, they would have taken him to the police station. Daisy says this isn't the first time Comstock tried to have a spy infiltrate them. Booker and Elizabeth escape and realize the Booker in this timeline must have agreed to join the Vox when Daisy offered at Soldiers Field. But if the Booker we're playing as from Columbia 1 said no because he was guiding Elizabeth, then why did the Booker from Columbia 2 agree? Either way, if they want their airship, they'll need the Booker from Columbia 2 to convince Daisy to give it back. They head to Shantytown and Booker's nose starts bleeding. They find a cell with Booker dead inside. Now they can't get their airship back and they can't go back to Columbia 1. Booker asks if Elizabeth can open a tear to a Columbia where no one is fighting. She tries, but she can't. There must not be a Columbia where no one is fighting. The Founders always step on the underclass, and even if the Founders are killed, their family line continues in their place. Elizabeth opens a tear to Columbia 3 and Booker's dead body isn't here. They hear a commotion outside and see Lady Comstock's airship headed for Fink's factory. The Vox are attacking using the airship, and posters of Booker as a war hero are everywhere. In Columbia 3, Booker died in the attack on the convoy, sacrificing himself to save Daisy. Nobody was captured, but now Booker is a martyr for the Vox Populi. The Vox captured one of Comstock's men who tells this Daisy that Fink gave them her location. Daisy realizes this Fink is playing both sides and she throws him out of the airship. Booker and Elizabeth arrive at the factory, but Daisy saw her Booker die and can't accept this one is real.
You just complicate the narrative.
Fink and Comstock's men are fighting back, and the Vox are dying. We reach Fink's office. Daisy has Fink and his son cornered. She shoots Fink, and Booker tells her she's lost. The revolution will end here if you don't pull back. Your people are going to die.
Kill the imposters. Burn their bodies when you're done.
Daisy says she'll fight to the death for a free Columbia. Booker tells her there is no free Columbia. Even if you strike down the Founders, nothing changes. Elizabeth opens a tear and shows Daisy the future of Columbia. Fink's son is grown up and now running the factory, a tyrant just like his father. Daisy is gobsmacked with what she's seeing. The only way to stop your people from being slaughtered is to pull back, Booker says. And Daisy counters with, or I make sure their bloodline can't come back, and grabs Fink's son. Daisy tells him, you said this was the only way to save my people.
Cut them down and they just grow back. If you want to get rid of the weed, you gotta pull it up from the root.
Booker tells Elizabeth this is their chance to grab the airship while everyone is distracted, but Elizabeth won't leave the child. With some unintended foreshadowing, she says, maybe you could live with yourself for abandoning a child, Mr. DeWitt, but I can't. Booker tries to talk Daisy down, but he can't.
It's the only way to be.
And Elizabeth kills her.
Elizabeth.
David sees Daisy and tells the Vox Booker and Elizabeth killed her. Our heroes head to the airship. This is their moment to slip out while the Vox are attacking.
How do you do it?
How do I do what?
Forget. How do you wash away the things that you've done?
You don't. Just learn to live with it.
But Songbird arrives and crashes the ship. News of Daisy's death galvanizes the Vox Populi. They prevail and torch the factory. They head into Columbia to come for the Founders and Comstock.
Booker, we've got to stop them.
They'll never escape, with Songbird patrolling the skies for Elizabeth. We hear over the radio that Comstock is preparing to launch the attack on New York. But Booker and Elizabeth don't understand. Comstock's prophecy requires Elizabeth, and she's here with Booker. And Comstock's forces are fighting the Vox Populi. Booker wants to get moving. It won't take long for Columbia to reach New York. The Lutesses teach Booker and Elizabeth in their way that Songbird can be controlled.
He was my friend.
Friend?
Until I grew up. And I hated him. Because he was my warden. He's just Comstock's pet, isn't he? Just like me.
We enter the final act of the game, and citizens are fleeing Columbia while the Vox Populi tear through Emporia. We find voxophones from Comstock declaring the police in Columbia will protect the God-fearing white people and to hold your ground against the Vox. And then we see the aftermath of the Vox's assault, and the police are all dead. Unlike Andrew Ryan, Comstock is a believer, and his followers believed in Comstock's sermons too, and now they're dead. The Vox show up with their wall of scalps and say they want the Founders and Comstock alive. But David has warned the Vox that Booker and Elizabeth killed Daisy, so the Vox attack them on sight throughout the final act. Elizabeth mentions that Daisy died chasing an idea that wasn't real. Booker says that made Daisy a fool. Upon entering Port Prosperity, we find more voxophones of Comstock appealing to anyone, even those he drafted into the military to stand against the approaching Vox, insisting that he is prophesizing God will protect them. We find these recordings at makeshift barricades, surrounded by the dead bodies of Comstock's soldiers.
Fingerprints will get us into Comstock House.
She's your
A
mother.
mother who abandons their child doesn't draw a lot of sympathy in my book.
I like the open level design in Port Prosperity, and I don't mind using Lady Comstock's memory as an excuse to deliver exposition. But calling her this
Why is your mother a ghost?
just feels atonal to the rest of the game. But now that so many of Comstock's faithful are dead in the streets, Lady Comstock can raise an army. We learn Comstock was sterile, but he wanted an heir. That Fink killed the Lutesses, but that doesn't seem to have slowed them down. That Songbird has killed Booker in nearly every Columbia where he's tried to exfiltrate Elizabeth. This should be where it's clear to Elizabeth that Comstock destroys everyone he loves, including her mother. And if he gets his way, Elizabeth will be next. Upon reaching the gate to Comstock House, the remains of a final police garrison and the Vox Populi are intermingled. No one broke through, and no one survived the fight. Elizabeth worries that this was their fault, and Booker tells her these men were just Comstock's weapons.
I know you hate me for not being your daughter, and I hated you for not being my mother.
They fight the final battle with Lady Comstock, where she raises both the police and the Vox Populi bodies against them. And just when Booker is about to win, Elizabeth stops the fight.
He pretended to love you, like he pretended to love me. I am not your husband's bastard. I am his victim.
Instead of killing Lady Comstock, Elizabeth refuses to be Comstock's weapon, to be one of the good ones who just do what they're told no matter who gets hurt. She can't make eye contact with Booker as she says that, but they both know she means him. Lady Comstock vanishes. Elizabeth apologizes to Booker for that remark. She looks over the dead Vox Populi and says maybe Daisy was a fool for chasing a place that could never exist. Songbird comes for her, and Elizabeth offers herself to save Booker. Booker heads to Comstock House and sees the future where Elizabeth leads the attack on New York. But this time, we find the Elizabeth from Columbia 3 lobotomized and controlled.
What I've done cannot be undone. I cannot stop what I have put in motion. But perhaps I can keep it from ever starting. He was my first hope. And now, he is my last.
That is the ultimate threat in Infinite. Not death, but the loss of free will. From what happens to the Slate to a particularly squirm-inducing torture sequence in Burial at Sea, the loss of your own mind is what's really at stake in Infinite. The threat of being both alive and dead. This Elizabeth grabs Booker, and we're transported through a tear to see her presiding over New York's destruction. She tells him she's going to do this for Comstock, and she won't be able to stop herself. Booker laments that he was too late to save her. Elizabeth from Columbia 3 gives Booker the card and tells him there's still time. Booker asks how is that possible, and Elizabeth shows Booker her hand. There's no thimble. This isn't the Elizabeth from Columbia 1. This Elizabeth asks Booker to give his Elizabeth the card, and zaps us back to Columbia 3. We hear our Elizabeth screaming as they put her into the machine, but this time, let's hear the doctor's reference that if we're seeing more Elizabeths, their power is increasing. Booker yells to Comstock, "How could you do this to your own daughter?" Not realizing he's letting Comstock know Booker doesn't know about his connection to Elizabeth. Booker shuts down the siphon, and they make a plan.
We are going to find Comstock.
Why?
You saw what he turns me into. I will not allow that.
And so what, you're going to kill him?
This is where you start moralizing, Booker. You forget. I know you.
I'm not going to let you kill him.
Really? Booker? What are you going to do to stop me?
Not a damn thing. Because I'm going to do it for you.
They zip up to the hand of the Prophet and confront Comstock.
This is between me and him.
You are walking into a trap.
I need to do this.
And this moment works already, but since Infinite revels in its parallels to BioShock, I want to add one more.
You think you have memories. A farm, a family, an airplane, a crash, and then this place. Was there really a family? Did that airplane crash? Or was it hijacked? Forced down. Forced down by something less than a man, something bred to sleepwalk through life until they are activated by a simple phrase spoken by their kindly master.
When the player met Andrew Ryan, Ryan used his last weapon against Atlas. The truth. He told us everything, and he was honest. We don't need a would you kindly reveal, but I'd like Comstock to use the truth against Booker. Comstock knows it, and Booker doesn't. And per his prophecy, Comstock believes he has to die to succeed. Elizabeth asks Comstock about the attack, and he admits that they will be upon New York within an hour, and he has the Elizabeth from Columbia 3 set to open a tear to consume the city.
DeWitt, I'm a fool. I've sent mighty armies to stop you. I've rained fire on you from above. I did all of that to keep you from her, when all I needed was to tell her the truth.
But Comstock addresses Booker, tells Booker if he lets Comstock live, Comstock will stop the attack and tell Booker where Anna is. Because, of course, that's why you're here, right? Hearing that Comstock has Anna, Booker flies into a rage and yells, "You can't take my daughter," when he's really mad at an uncomfortable truth. Maybe knowing a little that Comstock is Booker. Booker doesn't just want to kill Comstock, he wants to silence him before he can share Booker's terrible secret with her.
Tell her that she's your daughter, you son of a bitch, and you abandoned her. Was it worth it? Huh? Did you get what you wanted?
Booker.
Tell me.
Booker.
Tell me.
Booker.
And Comstock
It is
wins.
Nothing is finished.
Booker.
You lock her up for her whole life.
Booker.
You cut off her finger and you put it on me.
Booker, stop it! You killed him.
They take the airship to Elizabeth's tower, and Columbia burns below them. And maybe it should burn. Even if it looked like heaven at first glance, if there is no Columbia where someone doesn't have a boot on their neck, then we're better off without it. We destroy the siphon, Elizabeth gains her full powers, and she takes us to Rapture. We learn the truth about Booker selling Anna, trying to get her back, Elizabeth's finger, and the baptism. Booker's memories start to conflict. The only way to stop the attack on New York is to stop himself from being baptized, but he can't tell what's real and what isn't anymore. What if Elizabeth is wrong? What if this is some kind of fever dream and Anna really is back home? And the game should end with a choice. Does Booker let the Elizabeths drown him, or does he try to save Anna? Of course, if he picks saving Anna, New York gets flattened. Booker can't even find his building amongst the rubble, let alone any proof Anna was in it. And Elizabeth zips him right back to the baptism. Booker says he was a fool, just like Daisy, for chasing a world that didn't exist. But Elizabeth tells him that Daisy had faith she could build a better world, and was willing to do anything, even kill or die, to make that a reality. Booker doesn't understand because after everything that's been done to him and everything he's done to others, he's never believed in a better world. To stop Comstock, Booker needs the one thing he's never had: faith. The price for sparing the world of Comstock is never getting to reunite with the baby he thinks he left at home. And Booker pays the price. Because maybe, just maybe, there is a door behind a door behind a door with a better world.
Is that you?
Can we run it through this lyrics?
So, how did we do? Was this enough to change your mind on BioShock Infinite? Is your opinion on this game also a constant or a variable? Infinite moves so quickly that its flaws may not have registered until you played a second time. But any story that plays this fast and loose with multiple realities is likely to unravel under scrutiny. Maybe it's enough that this game stuck with us all, for its flaws and its triumphs, that we still debate its place in history even today. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. It means a lot. As a reward, use the word cucumber in the comments when you tell me how you would fix BioShock Infinite, and I'll reply to any comment with that word in it. If you enjoyed this video, would you kindly click the like button? It really does help me share this with more people, and hit subscribe so you can catch the next one too. Thanks, and have a great day.